Let's play a little game of to tank or not to tank. Starting with the Chicago Bulls, Tom. The Bulls right now have the 9th best odds in the NBA draft lottery. They've won some games this year. Zach LaVine is playing his ass off, but they're the 10th spot in the play-in. I think this is clear cut. The Bulls should be trying to tank out of that. What do you think? To tank or not to tank?
Tank. Look, the Chicago Bulls have to pick a direction here. Arturas Kornišovas and the organization have been resistant to doing anything other than being on that hamster wheel of mediocrity. Great
pronunciation, Tom. Great.
Yeah.
I just stick to AK because I'm an idiot. I just say AK.
Well, I think when you look at the Chicago Bulls,
dumb Americans.
The fact of the matter is they are so far away from contending. They are so far away from having like a future that you can believe in. And you have the Golden State Warriors who are like wanting Vooch. They could use Zach LaVine, and they have young pieces. And yeah, Kuminga's hurt. I do think if you're the Chicago Bulls, you punt and you retain the option, that the chance that you have a core around Buzelis, Coton White, and then Cooper Flagg. Like, I think a lot of teams need to be thinking about this realistically about your future. Zach LaVine, to me, makes a lot of sense on a contending team, whether it's Milwaukee or Golden State. You can talk yourself into a lot of teams that can acquire Zach LaVine, and it's incumbent on that organization to finally decide where you're going rather than just being in the purgatory of the NBA. They have a top 10 protected pick, and I think in this draft, when you have a chance to get into that top 3, this is the moment. Because, yeah, teams don't have an incentive to lose once you're like at the very bottom. But think of like the hockey stick that we talk about in finance or in tech industry, the hockey stick where it accelerates your chances. You want to get a stock that will go up like a hockey stick. Think about the chances of you getting Cooper Flagg is kind of like if you rotate that hockey stick 90 degrees, at a certain point, it doesn't incentivize you to lose anymore if you're the Wizards or if you're the Hornets. But if you're Chicago, it is the marginal increase on your chances of getting Cooper Flagg go way up if you move from 12 to 7, right? That's huge. You saw the Atlanta Hawks last year get the number 1 overall pick. And yeah, the odds are what they are, but you can increase your odds dramatically, 2, 3, 4, 5x if you put in the tank right now and you say, Zach LaVine, Vooch, see you later. We're going into the tank for Cooper Flagg. They should.
The Bulls are the 10 seed currently in the East. The 9 seed is the Hawks. They have no choice. The Spurs own their pick. They don't want to tank. They have no choice in the matter. But they lose Jalen Johnson. Unfortunately, it's going to be a lot tougher for them to actually make the postseason. The 8 seed right now is the Detroit Pistons. They've lost 3 games in a row. They're 23-24. Cade Cunningham looks like an all-star. It's been a really impressive step up for them this season. But to tank or not to tank, Tom? What do you do if you're the Pistons?
I think you tank. I think this has been a great season for Cade. I think you don't overshoot things and talk yourself into like, hey, we're a playoff team. You're only a playoff team because you're in the Eastern Conference, okay? I think Detroit should be in the Cooper Flagg game. They've had already overachieved big time this season, and you're built for the future. You're built for who's going to be our piece next to Cade Cunningham 3 years down the line. They don't have that piece right now. Jaden Ivey looked like he could be that piece, but he just broke his leg, and the timetable gets a little bit reset back. I think
could it be Osar Thompson, and we just don't know it yet with the way Amen Thompson has blossomed with Houston? Could his brother Osar be that guy? It's just the opportunity is a bit behind right now.
I want more bites at the apple. In this draft, I want to make sure that I have a chance at moving up and getting an Ace Bailey or a Dylan Harper or a Cooper Flagg. And to me, like, it's precarious. They're going to be in the play-in, and it's not like necessarily tank. I think if they just keep things going the way that they are, there's a chance that they already will be in the, retain that pick. So it's not necessarily that they need to quote unquote tank. It's just, I wouldn't necessarily go all in if you're the Detroit Pistons with the way that this roster is set up. I think in the long term might be cold hearted for the Pistons fans that want to see them in the playoffs. But I think the Pistons fans ultimately want to see Cade's running mate. And right, to me, he's not on the roster right now, as much of a bet that Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper or whoever, you're the draft expert. I think those pieces might be more promising as Cade's co-pilot than what we're seeing right now on that roster.
I think you're right, Tom. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't think you're necessarily trading anybody away to make it happen, but maybe keep a guy out with a turn ankle for an extra week just to be extra safe. That's the path I'd go with Detroit. And I wouldn't, like, as you said, with 1 week to the deadline, I wouldn't want to go out and add anybody going all in. I'm not doing that if I'm Detroit. I'm happy keeping the status quo with my roster, being real conservative with bringing guys back from injury once they inevitably happen, as they do for every team. Because for them, Ace Bailey or somebody else, Ace Bailey would be oh my God, the way he shoots the ball, perfect fit next to Cade Cunningham as a running mate for him. He looks like Michael Porter Jr. the way he's been playing lately, except even more of a shot creator. The dude's nasty. So I think for Detroit, I agree with you there. What about Philadelphia 76ers? They've been winning some games as of late. They've won 4 in a row. They're 19-27, 11 seed in the Eastern Conference, 4 games back from the 6th seed. So they're not completely out of getting a guaranteed spot, but it's going to be tough to climb. What path are you going if you're the Sixers, Tom?
Top 6 protected, or it goes to OKC. Right now, you're 8th in those odds. I think you pull the plug on the season. I think you look at Paul George and you say you're banged up, and Joel Embiid, you're banged up. I know Tyrese Maxey, he's been playing really well, deservedly in the All-Star conversation. But if I'm looking at the realistic scenario, being pragmatic about the situation where Jared McCain's already out for the season, it seems like there's some sort of hex on the organization this season. I say you play for that you bottom out and play for that top 6 protected pick, especially even if you don't land at the number 1 pick. That's still something that a draft asset that you could trade and try to get something, or attach it to Paul George's contract, or attach it to another contract to try to get something, even if it isn't Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey or Cooper Flagg. I just feel like that could be very valuable in a very difficult, inflexible situation for the 76ers right now. They're cornered. If Paul George didn't have a great year this year and Joel Embiid was hurt, this is almost worst case scenario. But if you send that pick over to OKC, that is the worst case scenario. You're bad, you're 8 games under 500, and you're still not able to recoup what would be kind of this carrot at the end of a terrible season. That would be the worst case scenario. That would be a nightmare situation if you have the 7th pick, but you have to give it to OKC, and you have nothing to show for this season.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It really is to think about. Hey, at least the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Right? I mean, Philly's got something right now going good for them. But I think with Philly, it's a complicated situation because, like, my gut instinct is, yes, I agree with you, tank it out and try to keep that pick and get a reward. At the same time, like, waiting another year for Joel Embiid to maybe stay healthy next season. What if this is your last shot? Like, what if Embiid at 30 years, he turns 31 in March. He's on the wrong side of 30 at this point. What if this is the year where he is able to stay healthy in March and April? And he was, wrapped in bubble all year long. And this is the year that he's able to stay healthy for a playoff run. Just getting in as a 6 or 7 seed. None of these teams in the East are. I mean, Cleveland's 38-9. Boston's still Boston. But Philly, if they're healthy, who knows? Maybe this is the year in reverse where it starts out horribly and then it ends wonderfully. Maybe it's just the opposite of what you're typically used to. I don't know, Tom. I got a hard time tanking it out if I'm the Sixers. I got a hard time doing it if I'm them. I think you have to go for it. I really do. I think you have to go for it still.
Joel Embiid is getting paid $67 million in 2029. 2029, he's under contract.
I know.
If you think that this is going to be like the only shot for you potentially for you to make it, they got a whole host of other problems here. I think they tank, get that top 6 pick, and try again next year. Make sure that Joel Embiid doesn't play in any sort of international games, and you roll it back next year fully healthy and ready for training camp.
It's tough, man. It feels like a lose-lose. That's the truth. That's what it really feels like at the end of the day, a lose-lose for Philly.